So you attended a networking event, whether it was in person or online, and now you have a list of names and information, or perhaps you have a bunch of business cards and you're wondering, okay, how do I follow up after a networking event that is worth my time? Hi, I'm Tiffanie Kellog, and that's the question that we're going to answer is how to follow up after a networking event. And we're actually going to approach this from a couple different directions. The first thing that we're going to talk about is why do you want to follow up after a networking event? What's the purpose? Then we're going to talk about when you want to follow up after a networking event, because it does make a difference. And how do we make sure that we always have the time to do that follow-up? Because I know sometimes our schedules get hectic and it's like, oh, I did the event and I've got other stuff going on. I can't follow up. And the main time we're going to spend today is going to be answering this question. What is the best way to follow up? And for those of you fretting like, oh, what if my way isn't the best way? Don't worry anymore. We're going to give you a couple different options that will work, though there is one that's probably better than all the rest. And then, lastly, what we're going to do is a bonus. When can we connect on social media? Where do we connect on social media? And probably should have thrown in the why do we even connect on social media? So let's start off with this conversation on why follow up. I mean, we're going to a networking event. And I think about when I go to a networking event, what's the purpose? And for me, when I go networking, my goal is I want to be able to book a meeting from the meeting. So I get the opportunity to meet somebody new at this networking event. And this could be online, this could be offline. But I meet that person new and I'm evaluating, do I want to spend more time with this person? And if the answer is yes, my goal is going to be to book the meeting with them. And ideally, if I can book the meeting with them while we're there at the networking event, I think that's really powerful. And it saves us from getting in the back and forth vortex, whether it's email, text, or phone calls, trying to schedule. But I know how it goes. And sometimes we have to do that follow up after the meeting. And that's okay. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is walking with that intention. And so when I asked, and you guys share with me, why do you think you go to networking events? And Tom Fleming shared VCP, like short, very simple answer, VCP. And VCP stands for know, like, and trust. And so to me, I'm going to a networking event to work the relationship through the VCP process. Visibility is the know. Credibility is the like. Profitability is the trust. Now, if I just see you at this networking event here, this networking event there, for example, on Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock, I typically head over to the Working Women of Tampa Bay virtual coffee. And some of the ladies are there every week. And if I'm just seeing them there every week and I hear them share their commercial, is that going to be enough to have them passing me referrals? Maybe, but probably not. So what I'm going to need to do is book that meeting with them outside of the actual coffee to be able to get to know them a little bit better one-on-one. As we move through the VCP process, this gives us the opportunity to create visibility, credibility, and profitability. And the referrals happen when we hit profitability. Now, sometimes we'll see people at a networking event and we already know them, though we're reminded, we need to still work on that relationship. So it could be that we're following up with somebody that we already know, whether it's we promised them something or to schedule a meeting. We want to make sure that we do that. And Matt shared accountability. It's crucial to create accountability when we're doing these meetings. Now, the second question we want to answer is when to follow up and how to make sure we have time to do that. And so, what do y'all think is the best time to follow up? How quickly after you meet somebody? And I think it does vary. I don't know that there's any hard answer of you have to follow up by this date or time. However, you want to make sure that it's still relevant. If it's been 2 years, it's probably a little late to follow up. 2 weeks is probably even pushing it as well. So, and asking, what are some of your thoughts on how quickly to follow up? So Ben shares 24 hours is professional. So following up within 24 hours is professional. Robert agrees. And Czarina shares 24 hours works, though it does depend on if you've arranged for a certain time or date. So there's probably a little bit of flexibility in the following up from that point. Tejraj says at 24/7/30. And I'm like, what does that mean? 24/7/30. And so 24 hours, you follow up with some type of communication, whether it's a handwritten note, electronic communication, whether that's email, text. And then within 7 days, you want to connect with them via social media. And then within 30 days, your goal would be to sit down, whether it's on Zoom or in person, and have a meeting with them to learn more about what it is they do. So I love these ideas on following up. How do we make sure that we have the time to follow up? That can be crucial. So what I typically like to do is when I'm scheduling the event into my calendar, I schedule the follow-up time as well. Now, the Working Women of Tampa Bay coffee that I do is Wednesday mornings. And so typically I actually have in my calendar, the coffee is from 9 to 10, but I have it scheduled from 9 to 10:30. Why? Because it gives me the opportunity to take that extra 30 minutes to do any follow-up that I need to after the meeting. Now, if you're out and about, you might not want to be at the event and doing the following up, or you may have appointments right after. And so it could be later that afternoon, the following day, ideally within that same week that you do the following up. I've been, looked at my calendar before and said, ooh, this event sounds good. And ooh, it's like 2 weeks before I would have time to follow up. Is it worth my time, energy, and effort in going to an event if I don't have time to do the follow-up? Yeah, not really. So we have to take some consideration into, do we have the time to follow up and putting that in our schedule? Now, here's the most important question I know that you've been dying for today, and that is, what is the best way to do the following up? And I've got some answers from a couple of you. What's the best way to follow up? Gary says, buy him lunch. You're welcome to buy me lunch, Gary. Happy to have it. Tom says email, which is no surprise. And I'll tell you why that is in a couple of minutes. Sean shared, okay, I think this was a joke. He shared scratch at the bedroom window till they answered. And I probably wouldn't have shared that one and put it in here. However, I've just finished with Salem's Lot, and I remember the kid scratching at the window. That one we'll skip over. So when it comes to what is the best way to follow up, I have 3 different ways to answer that question. And this is where, if you don't like one of the answers, you got 2 others. So the first way that I recommend that you follow up is with a handwritten note. I mean, if you think about it, when's the last time you got a card in the mail? And some of you are thinking, oh yeah, I've gotten a couple or a few or one this year. Maybe I haven't even gotten any since the holidays. So I think that this art of sending a handwritten note is definitely something that has been lost. And if our goal is to stand out, if our goal is to build relationships, what better way than to do something that nobody else does? Now, to make it easy, so I'm such a nerd and I can't help it. So I've got a Doctor Who lunchbox, and it's here at my desk. And inside of it, I have a ton of different cards, stamps, envelopes, labels that I can utilize if I want to send out a note. And again, nerd, I actually got some cards made. This is got to go the right way. So this one right here, it just has me meditating. And so I'm easily able to say, thinking of, and then I can put that in there. Or I've got, if I'm out networking, a thank you card. So I can just say thank you. Postcards, because people use postcards so rarely. Sometimes people say, well, why postcards? Why not cards and envelopes? And I typically will switch back and forth. So my next set of cards will probably have them on the, with the envelope. Just trying to be different, just having a little bit of fun. And if you know me, I'm all about the fun. So send some handwritten notes. If you're like, my handwriting sucks, sorry, perhaps it's a great way. You could try send out cards. Then you can do it all from your electronic device or your computer. You can just go in, put the information in, pick out what you want, and then it'll send the card over. So it makes it easy. Do know that when it comes to sending a card, this first way to communicate, it is a one-way conversation. So if you do want a response, you're typically going to have to reach out another way. And speaking of reaching out, if we move to the second way, I want to answer this question of what is the best way to follow up. So the best way to follow up, whichever you will actually do. Yep, that's right. If the only way you're going to follow up is text, follow up that way. If the only way you're going to follow up is phone, follow up that way. And that's why I chuckled and said, no surprise when I saw Tom said email, because that is definitely his preferred method of following up. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just if you're going to only do one, it doesn't matter what the right answer might be. Do the one that you're actually going to do, because some follow-up is better than none. Now, the third way I like to answer the question, what is the best way to follow up, is remember the platinum rule. So the platinum rule, which we talk about in the 4.5 networking mistakes, it's actually networking nugget number 16. We also talk about it a lot in the Roomful of Referrals program offered by Ascentive. And it talks about the fact that there are 4 different behavioral styles. And each person has a preference for how they prefer to be treated. And that's the platinum rule. Now, most people are familiar with the golden rule, treat other people the way that you want to be treated. The problem with that is not everybody prefers to be treated that way. I'm like Tom, I do prefer the email follow-up. However, not everybody else does. So if you're familiar with Assentive's Roomful of Referrals, if I'm meeting with a go-getter, I'm probably going to send a very concise email. If I'm talking to a promoter and wanting to follow up with them, I'm probably going to text. A nurturer, I'm actually going to pick up the phone and make a call. If I'm meeting with an examiner and I'm looking to follow up with them, then I'm typically going to send a very detailed email to them. Now, if you're like, what does that last 15 seconds mean, Tiffany? Do check out tampa.ascentive.com. Our Roomful of Referrals program is on the events calendar. You can learn more about that, and we'll put information in the description below about it as well. I highly recommend the program to help you with your networking efforts. Now, let's say you haven't done the Roomful of Referrals, but you're at a networking event and you're talking to the person. A simple question could be, would you prefer that I call you, text you, email you, talk to you on social media, smoke signal? What would work best for you? Now, I usually only offer the ways I prefer to communicate. So I'll typically say, hey, would you prefer if I email or call you? And then I always laugh because sometimes people will be like, give me a text. And I'm like, that wasn't one of your options. That wasn't one of the answers. So why'd you pull that up? However, that's the way that they want to be treated. So I want to make sure that I honor that. And I'll make sure that I give them the text if that's what they want. All right. So I did promise you the kind of bonus last conversation is when and where do we connect on social media? Because I think that we're beginning the relationship at the networking event and we're continuing it online. And so one of our Tiffanies, that's your epiphany from Tiffany, is you want to connect online with people you meet in person to really begin building that know and like of the know, like, and trust. And so I do think it's important to connect online. However, not everybody is as active online on all the platforms. So I know many people are like, to me, LinkedIn is open game. If I meet you at a networking event, I think it's appropriate for me to say, hey, let's connect on LinkedIn, and I'll go in and send a friend request, or I guess send a connection. It's not a friend request. I do recommend to share where you met them because that will help spark their memory. When it comes to the other social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those, I only recommend connecting to people on the other platforms if and when they have that information either on their business card, their website, their email. So if they've listed out on the back of my business card, I actually have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube there so people can go find me. But if I don't see on their website anywhere, if I don't see on their emails anywhere, if I don't see on Facebook, if I don't see on their emails or business cards or their website, hey, here we are on Facebook, then I'm not going to connect to them there because they're not advertising it as a business place. Now, with all of this, everything that we've talked about, to me, it's crucial to follow up. Again, if you can't follow up, why did you attend the networking event? Our goal is to book that meeting from the meeting. And if I don't have the time to book the meeting, why was I at the meeting? So you want to make sure that you have time in your calendar to do your follow-up, do it timely, and do it the way that works best for you. Now, if you're networking to get more referrals, perhaps you want to check out our MORE Referrals, 5 Steps to Referral Success program. It is a free 5-week coaching program on how to get more referrals delivered right to your email box. You can check out the description below for the link to that. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Because you like what you saw in this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel to get constant updates, as well as like and comment below. We'd love to hear what you have to say and look forward to seeing you soon.